Hi everyone, my name is Owen. I'm a clinical psychologist and a former young carer, and today I'll be talking about the research that I published as part of my doctorate. So one of the studies that we published was a systematic literature review, which essentially means that you collect a bunch of research that other people have published, and you group it all together and develop a story from it, which is what we've done here, and we've split that into three sections. So the first looks into what it's like to become a young carer. And I think the main 2 points to take away from this are that young people are often essentially born into the role in the sense that they can't actually identify a beginning point. It's the only thing they've ever known. And the other thing to be aware of is that they are often, at least in the young carer families that present to research teams and support services, they are often experiencing a range of challenges within the family that might be socioeconomic status related or ethnicity related or drug and alcohol addiction or mental health needs or that sort of thing. And so the young care experience and the demands of providing care, and plus often these additional challenges, can lead to a serious sense of disconnect at the individual young carer level and at the broader family level. So the individual young carer is often disconnected from their peers because they really are trying to juggle their significant care responsibility in the home. And the family can often be disconnected because they are also juggling the demands of the care recipient, but also there may sometimes be reluctance to access support services due to either not knowing about them or a sense of shame and stigma that maybe they might be judged by not meeting the needs of their family. And all of this can lead to some pretty significant negative outcomes, so social isolation and impairment across a range of domains. But psychologically, anxiety and depression are quite prominent in young carers who grow up in families where their personal needs often are not prioritized because the needs of the care recipient are sort of paramount, which can lead to a bit of a conflict in the young carer's identity development because they're unsure what their place is in the family. You know, they're providing high levels of care and support and they're contributing a lot, but often they're kind of overlooked as a secondary priority, or at least that's the perception. But it's not all negative. One of our studies looked into the positives of young carers. So we had the opportunity to sit down with a bunch of young carers and hear their stories, and they told us some pretty profound stories of what it's like to grow up as a young carer. And from that, some really powerful positives came out. And so maturity and independence were quite common. Naturally, children who grow up having a higher level of responsibility develop a better capacity to do things for themselves, emotionally and functionally. But empathy was another one that came out, and I think that's exemplified by the quote at the bottom there quite well. But one interesting finding that we found was vocational congruence, which is essentially just a fancy way of saying that a lot of young carers grew up and used their skills and life experience in a way to meaningfully connect with their work. So often they became healthcare workers or teachers or that sort of thing. And obviously resilience comes from persevering through challenge and improving your capacity to bounce back from stresses and that sort of thing. So what do we do with this information? Well, I think obviously increased awareness is important, but also awareness of the diversity of the young carer experience. So we can get better at actually looking at the individual and tailoring an intervention to that individual. And I think psychologically, as I've sort of alluded to, there's the role of identity and the role that the caring aspect in particular plays in the development of an identity is massive and cannot be understated. And I think supporting young people to kind of understand their role, understand who they are, and understand the value that they can contribute to themselves, the family, and the broader society is going to be a really important aspect of helping young carers come out of the caring experience strong and healthy. All right, that's it from me. These are the three studies that I've published. The second one is available open access, which means you can Google it and have a read, but the other two are locked behind sort of paywalls in scientific journals. So if you can't access them, I'm more than happy to share them. And they're my co-authors down the bottom there. All right, thank you.